Welcome to the Pride of Detroit podcast, the POD cast. We're back for another week, another Detroit Lions loss. Back to their losing ways, I suppose you could say, after tying last week. Lions finish their road trip around the AFC North with a 13-10 loss to the Cleveland Browns. My name is Jeremy Reisman. I'm filling in for Chris Perfett as your adequate host this week. You can find me at Detroit Online on Twitter. Let me introduce you to our other two guests this week. As always, we have got senior editor of Pride of Detroit and rock god, Ryan Matthews. At Ryan_POD on Twitter. Ryan, how are we doing this evening?
This evening? You know, was it me or did that game just seem like it took forever?
Yeah, a little bit. It dragged on.
It did drag on. Like lots of penalties, I don't know. It seemed like it took a lot longer than it needed to take.
I think part of it is that it just feels like a continuation from last week. Like it's just a 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th quarter from last week.
Yeah, that's way too much. It's way too much of that football.
And also with us to break things down, our social media manager, our writer, kind of our jack of all trades, John Whitaker, at Whitaker on Twitter, is with us. John, thanks for filling in tonight.
Happy to be here. I wish I was talking about a happier outcome, but that's the life of a Lions fan.
Yeah, this is about par for the course at this point. But let's jump right into it because I do mention that it felt a lot like last week in a lot of ways, at least to me. The Lions run into a team that's not playing particularly well. They're not getting good quarterback play. The game is there for them to take, and they don't take it. And last week, I feel like a lot of the complaints were around Jared Goff, right? Playing injured, didn't play well, was inaccurate, wouldn't test the defense downfield. We get Tim Boyle this week, and it's basically the exact same offense without any they don't do the 6th offensive line guy as often, but in terms of passing game, the exact same thing. And so now I feel like the scapegoat of this game seems to be on the coaching staff. And I want to throw it to you, Ryan, first. Do you think that's fair?
Not entirely. Like, I think that they do deserve their fair share of the blame for this game. Some of them deserve some praise, and I think we'll get around to that. But I think large in part, my big takeaway from today's game, and through the first 10 games this season, to me, this is just a really almost like talentless team. Like they are devoid of talent at so many different key positions, the most important one being quarterback. And I think for so many years, that was just a given. Like it was something you could count on as a Lions fan. Sure. And this is the first year that the Lions have really had to, Lions fans, people around the team, this organization has had to do with this in a decade. And we found out today that the grass isn't always greener on the other side, going from Jared Goff to Tim Boyle. But I think that a lot of what I'm understanding about this team is that they just don't have a lot of talent. And how many games in the NFL are just flat out coaching wins? Like how many just end up being flat out coaching wins? So I don't know if I can say like this was an entirely a coaching loss, but I think that there is some fair criticisms of Dan Campbell, especially to be wielded.
You feel the same way, John?
I'm a little bit different. And what you mentioned starting off the podcast was that it felt like a continuation of last week. And the thing that this game and the last game have in common is that Dan Campbell was at the helm of the play calling.
Right.
And oddly enough, these past two games are ones that have kind of shaken my faith in Dan Campbell. I think he's made some questionable calls. Now, when it comes to being aggressive versus conservative, it's hard to take into account the fact that this Lions offense is so bad because it's kind of a double-edged sword. On one hand, you want to be more aggressive because this offense might not have opportunities to score again. We saw that when they opted to go for a field goal instead of a touchdown. I think it was in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
But on the other hand, the offense is so bad, it's like, do you even trust them to convert something like that? For a normal offense, 4th and 1, that should be pretty easy. But for this Lions team, maybe not.
Nothing is easy.
And yeah, nothing comes easy to this team. And I think there is a positive. The Lions have been a little bit more successful with their run game the past 2 weeks. I mean, we had Andre Swift go for over 100 yards in back-to-back games, which I think was the first time since the early 2000s.
2004, yeah.
2004, yeah. And, there's some credit there, but at the same time, you have to notice that other teams are honing in on this. A good tweet here, Myles Garrett, he said, Brown's Myles Garrett on if he was surprised the Lions ran on 3rd and 14 late in the fourth quarter. No, we saw that last week against the Steelers. They will run it from 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 12. Them rushing on 3rd and 14 did not surprise us at all. And that's kind of the problem. The Lions, they've played their hand. All they have going for them is their run game. When you can't throw it downfield, that's going to limit your opportunities.
Yeah, it's going to make you very one-dimensional. And I guess, to me, so, I mean, we can roll through some of the criticisms of the coaching staff in this game. I think the first one probably comes with whatever the 2-minute drill was at the end of the first half. The Lions get the ball with about 1:10 left, 3 timeouts, and just kind of lackadaisically make their way downfield. They're not moving the ball particularly well. They're just utilizing the middle of the field. They're running the ball a little bit. They get a 15-yard penalty, and eventually they throw it to TJ Hockenson with 10 seconds left and no more timeouts left, and the clock runs out. Like that just,
yep.
I mean, it speaks to really the problem that was the entire game. Is just they can't throw it down the field. And in that instance, it didn't really seem like they tried all that much either. I mean, I don't know. Maybe this is just like all part of the bigger discussion. Maybe we don't need to go one by one situation here, because I think my issue is that I don't like that the Lions are resigned to the fact that they're a bad offense. I don't like, because it seems to me like they're just not even trying anymore.
I don't think Dan Campbell would agree with that, though. Like, I think that he would agree with they're a bad passing offense.
Sure. Right. But I don't even like being resigned to that. Like, we'll figure it out then. Don't just say 3rd and 13, that we're done. Might as well throw away this possession. Like that's an unacceptable behavior to me.
Here's something I really don't like. It was at the end of the game, what would eventually go down as the Lions' last drive. 3rd and 14, they run a draw up the middle.
Yep.
Like, I know that's been your successful play. I know that DeAndre Swift had a really long touchdown run. That just screams giving up. I know it's sad that we're at the point where that's probably the best play the Lions can draw up. But the odds of converting that is so low. And I think the thing that makes it worse is that then they punt on the next play. Right. I feel like at that point you should be in do or die situation. So if you take that draw play, I think you almost have to go for it. But then not only do they draw on 3rd down, they still punt it away and they never touch the ball again. To me, that's my big issue, because I get what he's saying about what gives the team the best chance of winning. But I just feel like in today's NFL, where you really need a passing offense to do much, it's just problematic.
Well, then they really need a quarterback, because here's the other thing. The thing that here's the thing that I'll play devil's advocate. Here's the thing that I do understand with the 3rd and 14 draw play is that if it gets a little bit more yards, I wonder if Dan Campbell thinks about going for it there.
Sure.
If it's not 4th and 9, because maybe if it's 4th and 4 or 4th and 3, maybe they can dial up some kind of run, or they can do something again and try to go for it that way, or maybe it's a short pass. Because that's where it seemed like they were still trying to do things, right? They were still trying to operate the passing offense in, like you mentioned in the postgame show, Jeremy, it was fake a screen to one side, throw the screen on the other side, or there were short slant routes, or, the only time that the ball really went downfield and was completed was the TJ Hockenson play up the seam, for a big gain of like 20 some odd yards. Like that was it. And I just think the devil's advocate to like the 3rd and long and Myles Garrett not being surprised by it because the tape is out there and Dan Campbell played his hand last week. Like, the Lions are going to continue to play their hand because of what they have under center. Like it's always going to come back to that, because if you want to take shots downfield on 3rd and 9 and 3rd and 8 and 3rd and 10, like, you need to have receivers who are going to create separation. You need to have a quarterback. I mean, how many of the throws that, Tim Boyle threw today, how many of them were accurate downfield?
Not many.
I know I know there's not a ton.
I'm trying to count the amount. Yeah. Yeah,
right,
exactly.
Yeah, I know there's not a ton to choose from, but it seems like running the football gives this team its best chance to win. Because here's the other thing. They tie last week. They lose by 3 points in this game. I think it does come down to like some coaching decisions by like not going for it on 4th and 1. But counterpoint to that, I mean, you can draw up a better play than the Kabinda dive like they did on 3rd and 1 and got completely stuffed.
They did get 20 yards out of Kabinda on one play. Let's not super back, all right? Let's chill on the Kabinda hate.
No, as soon as that play happened, I put him in my stock up. So.
But I guess my problem is I don't know that running the ball gives them the best chance to win, because they had the most winnable games on the schedule these past 2 weeks based on the performance they got from the other team. The Steelers were horrible. The Browns were horrible. Both teams did everything they possibly could do to hand that game to the Lions, and it didn't work because the Lions were too conservative. The Lions just and listen, like I'm with you all the way. This team does not have a lot of talent. This team does not have a good quarterbacks willing to throw the ball down the field or whatever. But this is the NFL. Like, we're talking about professional football players. We're talking about guys like Swift and Hockenson. And I do think Josh Reynolds, I know he didn't have a good game. We're going to talk about that a little bit in the second game. But they're talent guys. Amon-Ra is a talented guy. Those are 3 or 4 weapons that you should be able to create a passing offense from that isn't just this one-dimensional throw it within 2 yards of the line of scrimmage thing. Like, they need to be better. Coaching needs to be better. They need to figure something out.
I'll let John get to it, but real quick, I'll say that wide receiver number 1 wasn't on the team in the beginning of November.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like it's just a revolving door. So that's problematic. That's troublesome, because think about how much chemistry a quarterback needs to develop with his weapons. And we saw what kind of effect that had today when, Tim Boyle thought DeAndre Swift was going to sit in that zone 100%. Instead of carry it out.
100%.
I mean, that's just not getting reps. And Tim Boyle, somebody who just got activated from IR. So, I mean, that's where we're at with it. Like, we have guys who aren't on the same page, and we're really churning over some talent here.
Yeah. I think, though, the Lions, it's almost like the Kobayashi Maru in Star Trek. It's an unwinnable situation. I realistically don't think that, given the pieces that are on the chessboard right now, I don't think there's any way the Lions can win. They might win a game, but I'm talking about be successful, right? Like, nothing they have on the roster is going to result in a sustainable offense, an incredible defense, nothing that's going to make you a Super Bowl contender. And I think that's kind of the point where we're at with the Lions. And I think that's also kind of what we expected, because we all know we've been harping on the fact that this is a rebuild. I think there's enough like positives that I've seen on the team where it's like, in the future when they have a few more pieces, there might be more to work with. But I think for this year, I hate to say it, but you almost have to like throw all the results out the window. You want to look at individual performances, because I think right now just the sum of the pieces isn't really good enough. And how many of these guys are even going to be on the team next year, right? You got to focus on the improvement of your key pieces.
And that's and as much as I'm criticizing coaching in this game, I do feel like it's important to keep all of that in perspective, because no one, at least in this panel right now, is calling for Dan Campbell's job. No one is saying this was an unacceptable performance, you got to go. Like, we all understand. And here's the thing, like, Dan Campbell is speaking in very coded words, but he is also saying, like, listen, we're a crappy team right now. And the way he's saying it, and he keeps saying it over and over again, which I think is kind of funny, is he keeps saying, like, listen, we're not the kind of team that can overcome a mistake or two. And that's it. That's his way of saying we're shitty. We suck. And so we're going to play super conservative ball so that we don't have a turnover that kills us, or a pick six, or a penalty. And they had all those things pretty much, other than a pick six in this game, because it was very, very sloppy, especially in that first half. But I do think, like, we brought it up last week because they made the change in play calling. What do we make of Anthony Lynn in his future right now? Because it feels like it's on thin ice right now. And that's something that I think the Lions could consider moving on from in 1 week or in 1 year, because I don't know, like, what positives were there when Anthony Lynn was play calling, and what development have we seen out of anybody? Like, maybe Swift is developed a little bit as a rusher this year. Other than that, like, I don't know who's really developed.
Yeah, I think you take a look at the offense, and the things that they did in the beginning of the season with Anthony Lynn that I thought were interesting were, putting Amon-Ra St. Brown in the backfield, like in a split wide shotgun formation, and or a split back formation with like Swift or something like that. Or, I think even before even before Dan Campbell took over, play calling, pulling Swift over to the other side of the offensive line and having him set up as like an extra blocker on one side. Like Anthony Lynn did some like interesting things and some route concepts. I mean, we talk all the time about like, Goff's inability to hit some of these receivers that he does have open because of those play concepts. But Jeremy, I don't think I can push back really on like which players have seen progression. And it pains me to say this, but like maybe the Lions' best receiving option, like he's just stayed stagnant, and that's TJ Hawkinson. It's one of those things where like there really hasn't been any progress with him, when I think all of us were kind of counting on him to be like, in the same air as talking, Travis Kelce's and Darren Waller's and, George Kittle's. Like I think a lot of us anticipated him making that leap, and it hasn't happened.
Right. And I mean, part of that is just like no supporting cast. Like he had a supporting cast in previous years, got nothing. Right. So we know defenses are keying in on him. The last thing I want to get to before we go to our first break here, and it's actually mentioned in the comment section, and it's something I talked about in the post game shows. I feel like they're kind of in a like weird spot. You know what? I would continue to talk, but I have been muted by our chat, who donated $80 by Jason, who decided to mute me. So you guys are going to have to figure out.
Bring up the comment?
Nope. You guys are going to have to figure out what to talk about for the next 60 seconds. So good luck.
We're gonna have to carry it. Okay. This is intimidating.
Well, so here's one thing that I want to ask you, John. It's kind of the same question that Jeremy just asked me, but what do you think Anthony Lynn does now in this offense? Like, what do you see his role being if he's not making the play calls?
It's really hard to say, because I feel like when you're looking at this offense, it's kind of like a chicken or the egg thing. It's like, which one came first? In which case, which is the problem? Is it the talent or is it the coaching? I mean, obviously it's going to be a mix of the two, but I'm at the point where I haven't really seen enough of anything from Anthony Lynn to really feel that confident about. I still think that putting the entirety of the blame on him is not going to fix anything. Like if you just go out and fire him, it's not going to solve your problems. You need to add way more to it. But at the same time, I kind of mentioned it's about promise, right? There needs to be these little plays that, maybe if you can extrapolate that over the course of an entire season, maybe it will help out. But at this point, those are just too few and far between.
Well done, John. That was a great job covering for me.
Jeremy, I want to ask you a question now.
Yeah.
Do you think that there's any chance, and would you be interested in Deuce Staley taking over play calling duties?
I mean, I don't know. That's a tough question to answer, because he also doesn't have the play calling experience of really anybody. But I mean, I guess I'm not against it. I'm not against trying anything at this point, because, and that's going to lead into the point I was going to try to get into, is like, it seems like this team was trying neat things early in this season. They were saying like, listen, we know we're bad, so we're going to go at them. We're going to do crazy stuff against the Rams because we know we're dug in a hole. But then they get into these other games where they think they're going to be close, and then they get conservative. And that's, to me, the frustrating part. Is like, when the odds are stacked against you, you're throwing everything against the wall. But when you actually have a chance to win a game, you're like, well, we got to be careful with this. This is a precious little thing. We can't hurt it.
How much of that, though, do you think is we're 0-7, we're 0-8, we're 0-8-1, and we're gonna try to hold on to any kind of hope, and we're gonna press and push in a different way because we're so close. Like, let's not do something like out of the.
But who cares if you go balls to the wall and get blown out? Like, who cares? It's not
house money, right?
Yeah, I guess my analogy though is like, do you want to just like simply like slip and fall on your butt, or do you want to like do a backflip and land on your face? Like
B.
One is way more embarrassing than the other.
Option 2, 100%. It's more fun for us for sure, right? Like that Rams game was fun as hell. These games are just like
Tim Boyle throwing the football. Yeah. Fun.
Listen, I'll take a freaking I'll take a flea flicker at this point, Ryan. That's how desperate I am for something interesting.
Something's gone wrong with Jeremy.
Yeah, no, somebody call the hospital.
There is a bit of truth to that though, because like I can't really think of any overly creative plays from this game. I mean, even the Swift draw, I think that was more just about good blocking and good running from Swift. Like, the Browns, they had that wildcat from Jarvis Landry. It was really an unremarkable game.
The closest thing they've come to a creative play all in the past 2 weeks was the one play in the first play of overtime, when they had Amon on the backfield. And then he came out and ran a great route, and they gained 20 yards on it. Everything else has just been like the same thing we've seen. It's just like nothing. It's the double screen, it's draw plays, and it's just so boring and so bad, and it's not working. And like, even, I mean, how long have we been crying for a 100-yard rusher, and now we got it in back-to-back games? We're like, this offense sucks.
It's almost like running the football is overrated.
I was gonna say we sound like the most ungrateful kid on Christmas.
Right. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to get into some individual performances. Coaches have the rest of the podcast off. We'll let all the narratives and things play out in the media over the next couple days. But we want to talk about some individual performances. We'll talk about Tim Boyle. We'll talk about DeAndre Swift. We'll talk about Josh Reynolds and maybe some other guys on defense as well. So stick with us on the PODcast. We'll be right back.
Already?
Oh, that's not even set up anymore. We'll just keep it here.
Oop.
All right, let's catch up on alerts here, because we started out in the middle of that segment with a big Graham Glasgow raid, handing the raid right back to us when we handed it to them. And then he dropped 15 gifted subs, and I know he's not here anymore, but I tried to hit him up in the chat there. Thank you so much, Graham. Appreciate the support. Might not be the last we see of you. And you know what? I didn't even tell the people. Offline, you did donate $200 to our Movember campaign last week or the week before, which we very much appreciate, obviously. And again, I know you're probably not here anymore, but the people should know how gracious you are, or how gracious we are of you. That's what I meant.
Lions could have used a guard today.
Yeah. Hope your recovery goes all right.
Yes.
They could have used a guard / center. Huh.
Yeah, that's right. Their center and they lost a center and a guard.
That was unfortunate. Although I don't think we've received an update on how bad those are. I mean, Vitai's probably not good, but I don't know what happened with Brown.
I believe he came back in.
Brown came back in.
Yeah.
He came back in.
Yeah, so he should be okay.
Yeah. I should also mention, right before we went off air, right after we went off air for our post-game show, Joshua Mercer, one of the biggest supporters of this channel, who comes time and time and again, anytime we're running these donations or just sometimes gifting subs, came in with a $100 donation. I did not see if he wanted to redeem that in for anything, including writing on my forehead. And then Jason, as you all saw in the middle of the podcast, donated $80 to Rain and decided to mute me, which, I'm not going to take it personally.
I think we may do, John and I.
You did all right. There was a bit of panic right at the beginning, but I think you made it through it. All right, I want to pull up some numbers here also in terms of so we're about 800 away from a next spin on the Wheel of Pain, which means that would put us at 10,000, right? I think that would put us at 10,000 total as well, which would mean, what's the next thing on the Wheel of Pain? Is that me keeping the mustache through? No, that's the cosplay.
Is it the cosplay?
Yeah. That's Ned Flanders. So we're very close to that at this point. We're only 800-ish away, 801 and change or something like that. Let me pull up the dashboard really quick. You just wanted to create chaos. I think you did. But I appreciate that. That was the first time someone's done it during the live podcast. We've had it during the break and during the I made it happen during the live stream during the betting podcast on Friday. Yeah. That was fun.
That was off the rails.
Does that mean you'll talk like Flanders too? That is kind of the plan. I'm almost certain I won't be able to hold it up for an entire podcast, but I think I'll go a full segment diddly doing.
I mean, yeah, like what's his accent? Like, obviously he has like a way he speaks. I forget what you call that, Ryan. You're the English teacher.
I don't know.
When like a person has like certain like phrases or that they always use, I don't really know what his like actual like accent is, because like it'd be easy to just add like Hadley hose and whatnot, but
Yeah, I'm trying to just hear his voice in my head right now, and I'm having a hard time doing it.
I haven't watched The Simpsons for so long.
You and everybody else.
It's still going on. How many seasons are they at? Are they at like 30?
I think it's about as old as.
It's an early '90s
Is it?
show. So it's probably
Oh,
actually.
man,
I want to say it's about as
they're
old
at
as
30.
me. I think
They're
30.
at 33 seasons, 713 episodes.
It's insane.
Wow.
Big Aries asks if I took Onion off the wheel. It's still technically on it, but it has been replaced. Now, do you want to see what it's been replaced by? I don't know if Ryan knows this yet.
I did.
A bigger onion.
I remember the last time you did it, you bit into it with the hot sauce.
Yeah, no, that's been replaced. Hold on.
Oh no.
Uh-oh. Place your bets. Is it going to be like a fruit or vegetable or something? Let's see.
I think it might be a drink.
What would be something worth bugging into? Oh,
Is it a Butterfinger?
Mustard and Snickers.
You did it.
Yep.
is that a joke or something I'm missing?
Ryan suggested this. He suggested taking something I love, like Snickers, and combining it with something I absolutely hate, which is yellow mustard. Which is also the worst kind of mustard.
Yeah, I think my original idea was ketchup, and you're the one who was like, no, mustard would make it worse.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so I'm thinking
I think you could survive. I think I would rather eat that than bite into a whole onion, to be honest.
I mean,
I feel like
overall,
the Snickers has enough taste to override it.
Yeah, I think overall it will taste better, but emotionally it's going to hurt me more because it's ruining a Snickers.
This is gonna do severe psyche damage.
Yeah. But anyways, we're not there yet. 800 more. So in terms of like scheduling for the week, obviously we're dealing with a short week. Maybe I should mention this on the regular podcast, but I'll let you guys know right away anyways. So Tuesday we're going to be doing First Bite. I forgot to tell Ryan that, but what time is it?
I totally knew that.
6 p.m.
Yeah, 6 p.m. is what you told me.
Yep. Okay. We were originally going to do Kent on Tuesday because we're not going to get a Lions player.
Yeah.
I have not rescheduled him yet. So Bears preview on Tuesday. I'm not sure. Maybe we'll get, it's tough because I was like, oh, maybe we'll get Kent later in the week. It's like, oh wait, no, Thursday is Thanksgiving.
Thursday is football.
So I'll talk with Kent and see when we can get that. Wednesday, I do plan on doing the man sim, maybe a Wednesday night man sim. So we'll have that. I don't think we're going to do Monday Night Football live stream this week. We could. I don't know. I might have to get talked into it because then we'd be live Saturday. Well, on this channel, we were live Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That would make it Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and then maybe even Thursday after the game, maybe. So that's literally 7 days in a row or 8 days in a row of streaming. So we'll see. Well, obviously, we're trying to get as many streams in to help us raise money for Rain, which maybe do a reset there real quick. If this is your first time joining us, we are raising money all of the entire month of November. The first half of the month, we raised over $7,000 for the Prostate Cancer Foundation. On the 16th, we moved over to RAIN, which is one of the biggest anti-sexual violence organizations in America. They have a sexual abuse hotline. They set up a whole bunch of programs for survivors. So please to give to them. If you want to give, !donate in our live chat. If you're watching us on YouTube, I'll have a link in the description. We've already raised $2,000 in less than a week, which is amazing and great, and I very much appreciate that. As you can see, we're 800-ish away from a next spin of the Wheel of Pain, which, if you've never been accustomed to it, this is what it looks like. And as I just mentioned, biting onion has been replaced with mustard-covered Snickers, I guess we'll call it. But wax part of my leg, I literally have wax strip paper things right here.
Sally Hansen.
She looks so happy about it. I will
you
not
think
be
that's
sharing
Sally
this
Hansen?
Maybe. Who's Sally Hansen? Who do you think Sally Hansen is?
I'm just thinking that Sally Hansen kind of sounds like an older woman's name.
Maybe.
What do you think would hurt more, waxing your leg or waxing your mustache off?
Mustache.
Mustache,
Yep.
you think so?
Yep.
Yeah.
Not gonna do that. Not gonna do that.
Do you think about like how sensitive it? Like I don't
Yeah.
know. No, never mind.
I
Too
won't.
personal. I was gonna talk about plucking my nose hairs.
Nose hair plucking hurts. It hurts.
It's so sensitive up there.
Yeah. I was trying to figure out what would be like the appropriate level of pain for that. Like, I think armpit might be pretty bad, but I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know if I could do that.
So bad. No.
I don't.
So
Well, I don't
bad.
like. I don't even know if I could do that with one of these strips. Though it feels like that would logistically be difficult, and I also don't want to do it. And
Have Harry do it.
nah.
40-year-old virgin style. Have Harry do it.
I also like, not to get too personal, but I don't have any chest hair or back hair, so those are not options on the table. Harry's in the chat, of course. Oh, I'd do it. I'd do it hard. Don't do the armpit. It would probably hurt for a bit every time you sweated. Maybe. I might destroy some sweat glands there.
And you probably don't think about how many times you like put your arms up. I feel like it
Right.
would hurt every single time that your arm goes up
Maybe.
and down.
You think there'd be blood? I think there might be.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if there'll be blood on the legs. I don't really know. I've never waxed anything, so I don't really know.
There will
I'd
be
be surprised. I'm not a biology person, but I feel like
Dermatologist.
legs probably wouldn't. Yeah, sure. I think legs would be all right.
Yeah.
I think it's more like, I don't know how it works. Maybe it's like the thickness of your skin or something.
Damn, maybe. CJ Craig says an eyebrow. That was off the table right away. Absolutely not. Those take a while to grow back, and you look like a freak without them. And there's someone in our chat that knows that firsthand. It's Harry.
But could you dye the eyebrows though? Can you bleach eyebrows? Is that possible?
Yeah.
I'm sure
yeah.
you could.
Yeah.
I'm
I don't
trying to
speak-
picture
I
you with
don't
like
speak-
blue eyebrows.
Yeah. I was going to say do one blue and one silver.
How about you
I don't
guys
think
do one of these things? No.
Nah, I'm good. Thanks for offering.
I told you in solidarity, I'll go get a Butterfingers and dip it in ketchup.
Okay. All right. Well, that'll be the if we hit bite an onion, we'll each do that. How about that?
Yes.
We'll each
Yes.
ruin a candy bar. Only
Yes.
you'll be using the better condiment but the worst candy bar.
I think you should definitely remind me tomorrow to pick one up while I'm out.
Okay.
So I want to make sure I have it in case we do
face
Monday
tattoo at
cast.
100,000.
Now see the
No.
most like permanent thing I was willing to do was shave the head. And it's not really permanent, but like it's there's significant rehab. Let's put it that way.
Remember when we thought the most permanent thing you were gonna do to yourself was write on your forehead in Sharpie? We were so concerned that the
Everyone was
Sharpie
very-
would not come off. Everybody's like, "No, Jeremy, don't do that."
Yeah. No, that one turned out okay. By the way, Joshua, if you are around, you did donate $100 between streams. So if you want something, I lost my Sharpie. I don't know where it went, but we've been
Is that
doing
a dry
dry.
erase marker?
Yeah.
Okay. Treating your head like a whiteboard.
Yeah, I had diarrhea on my head for basically the entire Madden sim. Thanks, Corbin.
There should be a donation incentive to have something written on your forehead when you go to a game and go into the locker room.
Nope.
Press conference.
Nope.
Dan Campbell's up on the podium. Why do you have diarrhea on your forehead?
Didn't you have? Wasn't pudding boots one of them?
Yeah. Yep. Put in boots.
Pudding boots and what was the first one? Was it
I've had
Dan Campbell's ample bosoms?
MCAB.
Yeah.
I did have an MCAB. I think twice now I've had I Heart mozzarella sticks.
There was
I
another
haven't
one.
seen you write them. How are you doing them? Are you doing it in the mirror or are you? Just
I'm
kind of-
literally doing them on stream, and so
Okay.
when I do the Madden stream, it's a little easier because for some reason the camera is reversed on this scene, but not during the Madden stream. So when I do it in this, it's like very hard because I'm going left. No, I shouldn't point. I'm going left in my mind, but on the screen it's going right,
Mhm.
and it's very confusing. How long do you have to redeem? That's a good question. I don't know. Whenever before the end of the month, I guess. Hey, buddy. Zazu's here. I think someone requested a Zazu cameo. That might have been during the post-game show, but we're gonna get him in here for a little bit before we jump back into the next segment.
Let's see. We got 2 Zazu requests. One 3 hours ago, one 2 hours ago, and then there was one yesterday.
I think they got theirs yesterday. Hey, buddy.
Okay, I will complete those.
Did we get anything else? I feel like I missed an alert somewhere in there. Oh, Katie resubscribed for 14 months. Said hi, everybody, and then used the awesome pride of Jamal. What are you doing? What was that? What was that? Oh. Anyone else? QJ Braun, thank you for the follow. Oh.
I saw that you timed out Baltimore beatdown for 600 seconds.
I did, because he said something like, "Oh, I'm just celebrating a win, something that you Lions fans will never know," or something stupid like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So toxic.
Yeah. Wow, congratulations on beating the Bears.
To be fair, Andy Dalton looking pretty good.
Yeah, no coincidence that once Justin Fields goes out of the game, the Bears score some points.
Actually, this is pretty bad. So he threw for 2 touchdowns, and I heard about that, but he was 11 for 23. Yikes.
What do we make of Houston beating Tennessee today? What the hell is that?
Tyrod Taylor.
Oh, yeah, 14
Hey,
14 of 24 for 107 yards.
No, look
He had a
at
very nice
his rushing.
touchdown run.
Oh,
Yeah.
he did rush for 2 touchdowns, but 6 of 28. It's not like he blew it up there either.
His first run was pretty good. Oh, speaking of rushing quarterbacks, how about Cam Newton? How did they do today?
They just lost.
They
It was
just lost to Washington.
3 points or something. Was it 24, 21?
27-21.
26,
Cam's back. It's funny. We just sign him off the street, and all of a sudden, ooh.
I just, like, Tannehill threw 4 interceptions in that game against the Texans. Oof. Adrian Peterson, your leading rusher, 9 rushes for 40 yards. Just about, this is the same as Derrick Henry, right?
I tweeted this on Twitter, and like the situation the Titans had with Ryan Tannehill, where it was like they almost had to pay him that big contract. I feel like the Browns are going to be in a similar situation with Baker Mayfield. Like, at the same time, like, it's such a big risk to let him walk, but at the same time, I don't think he's ever going to truly play up to that contract.
He was so bad today.
I think that this is the Baker that I think this is the Baker that the Browns get more often than not, though.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't been very good. I know he's been hurt, but he hasn't been that good this year, right? He's very hot cold. Like,
it's hard.
Some days he's really good, other days he's garbo.
I don't know how to judge him because I haven't watched a ton of Browns games, and I know he's dealing with not just a lot of injuries, but serious injuries, like a torn labrum in his shoulder and foot and leg injuries, knee injuries. Like, you kind of need all those body parts to be a quarterback. And I know he's running around like crazy on the field and it doesn't look like he's hurt, but you have to imagine some of that's affecting his throwing motion, right?
Yeah, when he was walking after a few plays, he was definitely hobbling a little bit. I mean, on the field, I still thought he looked pretty mobile. Like, he had a few plays where he was escaping, but
he missed so many throws.
He did.
That's probably, Jeremy, when you said that this game has felt like it's just a continuation from last game. Like, I was like, Mason Rudolph was making the same misses.
Right.
Like, the only thing is that Baker Mayfield was probably making bigger misses.
Maybe. He turned it over more.
The Oruwariye interception was terrible.
And that's in the third segment. We'll talk about the defense because I think it's kind of an interesting topic. Whether, I mean, you look at the scoreboard, you look at some of the stats, you're like, hey, they've kind of played well the past 2 weeks. But I'm wondering how much of that is real. And I don't know. I don't want to get into it yet. But since we're kind of doing an around the league type of thing right now, Vikings 34, Packers 31.
I don't know what to make of the Vikings. Some days they're just awful, and other days they're like really good.
It's interesting,
Justin
right?
Jefferson,
like,
man.
They've had so many close games too this year where they probably should have won, or they got a little. I mean, even they've been lucky in some games too. Like, I don't know, Lions game, where I guess the Lions were probably lucky to even be in that game because of the late turnover there. But
yeah,
I mean, what do we think? There's any chance that the NFC North is not over?
Let's see, what is it?
Vikings are 5-5, Packers are 8-3.
it would be like a really big collapse.
Yeah.
I think the
At the same
Vikings are
time-
definitely a playoff team, though.
Mhm.
The Vikings are.
Yeah, they're definitely a playoff team.
I think they're probably just on the outside right now because, like, the Eagles are a team you kind of have to watch right now too, right? The Saints are falling though. Like I think.
What do you know?
I
We
get-
cured the Eagles.
Oh, the
They're now a
Vikings are
good
in.
team.
So right now, your division leaders are the Cardinals, Cowboys, Packers, Bucks. The Rams are in the 5th seed. The Vikings. Oh, there's 3 teams that are 5-5. The Vikings, Saints, and 49ers. Another team that's on kind of on the surge a little bit right now. And then the Eagles are 5-6. Panthers are 5-6. Washington 4-6, and then
So here's an interesting thing I just saw about the Eagles because I was looking at everybody's schedule as you were kind of saying this.
yeah,
The Eagles' next 5 games are at the Giants, at the Jets, home against Washington, home against the Giants,
man,
away on the road to Washington.
man.
That's
Like
bad.
That'd be nice.
they have 5 games where they can like go out and I don't know, like maybe win 4.
Sure.
I still don't really have faith in them doing any damage in the playoffs. I'm just.
I don't either.
I know Jalen Hurts had a good game, but
He's
still-
playing kind of well. Like he played well in the Lions game, and they're listen. Like
I mean,
I know they
didn't he,
blew up
like,
the I know they blew up the Lions game. But like their running game is good. It was good going into that game. They were averaging 5 yards a carry as a team, I think, going into that Lions game, and then obviously they finally realized their full potential. I feel like something
got
clicked
Miles
with the
Sanders back.
Eagles that week, and a lot of it's like haha the get right game against the Lions, but like they also like finally realized, oh, we should be
They
running
did
the
get
ball
right.
35 times a game because we can actually do it for entire 4 quarters.
Yeah, and they have Darius Slay who's scoring defensive touchdowns.
Yeah.
Yes, that helps too.
That helps too. Jeremy, I have a very tough question to ask you.
Uh-oh.
I'm salivating at the chance to ask you this question.
Oh no, I don't like it already.
Next week, Rams, Packers.
Oh no, I hate it.
Who are you rooting for?
Oh no.
Rams, no question.
Really?
Yeah, I'm still rooting for
This-
Stafford. I'm sorry, like I'm not going to apologize
Just
for that.
This just in, everybody.
I'm
Is
a
it
Matthew
on-
Stafford fan.
Jeremy wants to see the Rams pick be better than it is.
Is it on prime time?
No, it's a 4:25 game.
It's America's
Okay.
game of the week.
So it could be pressure for Stafford. So it could be collapse there.
Hey, you always wonder. It's
Yeah. It's
end
so
of
tough. Like,
end of November in Green Bay. Could be.
so
some
I
weather.
know that the Rams have kind of shit the bed the past few weeks, but I still think they're probably the top team in the NFC right now. Like I think a lot of the other teams I guess have too many questions about. I think when things are clicking, they're a very good team.
It's tough, right? Like, because the Packers were the team that was kind of lighting things on fire, and
Cardinals
I think-
look like they're gonna could win.
yeah, the Cardinals. It's a 3-point game with 7 minutes left right now.
Without Kyler Murray for a third straight game.
Right.
Colt McCoy.
Dallas is
One
getting
thing though is
worked.
I do think the Cardinals' run game is going to suffer because they lost Chase Edmonds. I know he wasn't like tearing it up in the stat sheet, but I'm not super confident in James Conner to lead that backfield. So I think they might be kind of one-dimensional. But if you're going to be one-dimensional in one aspect, let it be the passing game.
Must be nice.
Must be nice.
I think I'm taking pleasure in the Vikings beating the Packers this week because all week, and I mentioned this I think on the Madden Sim, like Packers fans have been so obnoxious about like, look how good our defense is. Joe Barry. We all thought Joe Barry was bad, and he's actually really good. And the last time our defense was this good, we won the Super Bowl. Well, Kirk Cousins just hung 34 on y'all. 341 yards, 9.7 yards per attempt, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Passer rating of 128.4. How's that defense working out for you?
Who did you play the last 2 weeks?
Kirk
I
Cousins
think
is good? Question mark.
The Packers beat the Seahawks last week. I think it was like 17-0, right? So I'm sorry, but that's also Russell Wilson probably shouldn't have been playing in that game.
Mm-hmm.
And then the week before they lost to the Chiefs
Jordan Love game.
13-7. Yeah.
That was the Jordan Love game.
Yeah.
And then that improbable game against the Cardinals. But here's here's what I think is interesting is the remaining schedules. Like the Packers only get the Bears once, and then they have the Browns, the Ravens, the Vikings, and they finish the season with the Lions. But the Vikings, they have the Bears still to play twice. And they get to play the Lions again, and they get to play the Steelers. Like, I don't know if I can completely say that Green Bay has the division wrapped up. Yeah, I don't think I could say definitively, but
okay.
That's the scary thing about the Vikings, though, is like a game like today. Like Justin Jefferson went off.
He's good.
He went insane.
Very
and it's one of those things where it's like, maybe he could have a game. Maybe Dalvin Cook's going to have a game.
Him and Adam Thielen, 16 catches for 251 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Wow, more than one wide receiver catching a pass from a quarterback. What a luxury.
I didn't know you could do that.
I thought that was illegal.
the Dave Chappelle quote.
Yeah.
I didn't know he could do that.
It is illegal for you to ask me that.
Oh man, I'm so jealous looking at these stats. Like Rodgers, 385 yards.
Like that's a
4
fun
touchdowns.
game to watch.
Cousins, 341 yards, 3 touchdowns. Like, okay, sure, you can get 100 yards rushing, but I want to see guys air it out, man. Like,
guys,
okay, Rodgers had an average of 11.7. Boyle had 3.3.
Oh man, nope. I was so sure that my same game. I didn't actually bet it, but like I was so sure my same game parlay would hit. Tim Boyle,
not even close.
77 yards.
No.
What was the 3-game parlay? It was that. It was passing attempts too. No, what was it?
No, it was just passing yards by Tim Boyle. And the Lions plus 21.5. That one covered.
That one did cover. The Lions have done an okay job covering a normal spread this year. I didn't think they were going to do it this week, to be honest. I thought their defense wasn't going to play as good. I didn't think Baker was going to be as bad, honestly.
What the Rams game? That one got all the way up to. Do you remember the spread in that game?
I don't.
Like 16 or 17.
Might have been 16 and a half. Yeah.
Let's see. What week was that? That was week 7.
Yeah.
Let's see what the spread was. Detroit.
Dan asks.
I have it at minus 14.5, but it might have changed for a bit. I'm just looking at my tally site picks.
Our good friend Dan. Oh, sorry. Finish the topic. I keep transitioning away.
No, you're fine. Real quick, I was just going to say that going into the Browns game, they were, once the Tim Boyle news happened, it went from like -9 to -12.
Yeah.
So they were still pretty significant underdogs in this game.
I think if I remember correctly, I think my pick was pretty close.
Mine wasn't. But only, I mean, I don't know. I still think these teams are handing Lions games and they're just not taking them. And once they run into a team that actually plays well, like
the Cincinnati Bengals,
that might happen again. All right. Dan asks Jeremy, Ryan, and John, who are your final 4 in the championship games? If you had to pick them right now.
We're talking about college football?
No. I don't. Well, actually, maybe it is. I don't know. I hope it's.
No.
I was thinking.
Hope not.
Final 4 for what? We're talking about like
NFC, AFC conference games.
Okay.
March Madness.
Okay, let me look at the standings real quick. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Packers, Cardinals. Oh, AFC's so hard.
Mm-hmm. Record-wise, the best team is the Titans, but I don't really have a lot of faith in them right now.
Ravens, Patriots.
Wow.
Man, if Mac Jones takes the team to the Super Bowl, people aren't going to forget about Tom Brady, but man, they're going to be very high on him. That's for sure.
Do you have your tough. 4, John?
It's really hard. Like we've been saying this for the last 2 or 3 weeks. Like no team looks like that team right now.
Yeah,
No team.
I think the AFC in particular is a bloodbath because some of these divisions are really close. Like, I think maybe aside from the Browns, I think the AFC North, any of those teams could do it. I'm not super confident in the Steelers though.
Yeah.
Don't think so? No.
No.
Like the AFC East is surprisingly close. Like, I don't think I didn't expect the Patriots to do as well as they have been, that's for sure. And then the AFC West, I mean, it's really hard to count out the Chiefs, right?
They're winning right now.
But
yeah,
I feel like they definitely turned things around last week. But they've had some ugly showings, and I feel like the Chargers, when the Chargers are good, I think they're very good. But I don't know if I have enough confidence. So okay, let's start with the NFC. I might go with. I know they're losing right now, but I think I might go Cowboys Rams.
Okay.
AFC. I really want to say my dark horse pick is Cincinnati, but I just don't have enough faith in that defense yet. I think they're not that good for DVOA, if I remember correctly. Let's see. Actually, yeah, let's look at DVOA. Who are the top teams? Bills are the top team right now.
Well, that's so hard to trust the Bills right now, man. Like,
yeah,
they got smoked today by the Colts.
So for DVOA, the teams are Buffalo, Tampa Bay, Dallas, Arizona, New England, Rams.
I have mine.
By the way, Mitchell Trubisky threw an interception for the Bills today. I don't know if anyone knew that, but I feel like that's important news.
Would you rather have Mitchell Trubisky or Jared Goff right now? Okay.
It wouldn't.
If you have to include contracts, I mean, you got to say Trubisky, right? Because you can move on from him.
Is Mitchell Trubisky the best quarterback in the NFC North, factoring in contracts? Question mark. Do you guys remember that?
My Friday open thread.
Do you remember that was an actual question posed by, I think it was Pro Football Talk?
Yes.
Or was either Pro Football Talk or Chris Sims?
Let's see. Let's check Twitter. Trubisky best.
Aaron knows what I'm talking about.
Quarterback.
I know exactly what you're talking about,
North.
Maybe it wasn't any of those things. I don't. Maybe I'm calling out the wrong publication. That'd be bad. I shouldn't do that.
I remember what some people were calling Stafford one of the worst quarterbacks in that division. Like there were some people who legitimately thought that Trubisky was better than him.
They're not very smart.
Okay.
Okay, I will go back to my picks.
It was Michael David Smith. I found it.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah. He said, if we're considering age and contract, which we always should when evaluating players, Mitchell Trubisky is already the top quarterback in the NFC North, and it's not even close. And I say that as someone who stands by my criticism of Ryan Pace for trading up for him. So Michael David, he writes for Pro Football Talk, right?
Yeah.
That's...
Oof.
He's the guy with the very tight shirt.
I also like the very first reply. The very first reply that shows up on my Twitter is Mansour just saying Lamau.
John, who are your four?
Yeah. Okay. So Cowboys, Rams. I'm gonna go for. I'm gonna throw them a bone. I'm gonna say the Chargers.
Ooh.
And
I like it.
I think I'll give the Ravens a look.
Okay.
I think that, if anything, this is probably more about the teams that I want to see. I would love a Chargers Ravens conference final. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I agree.
Rapid fire, ready?
Here we go.
AFC is going to be a matchup of division rivals.
Ooh. I'm trying to give
Bills,
you
Bills.
Oh, Bills Patriots.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah. NFC, Packers, and 49ers.
Ah, see, you're showing my guy
Really?
Kyle Shanahan some love.
Here's what I like about the 49ers schedule down the stretch.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they have the Falcons, they have the Texans, they have the Titans, And the way that they played recently, I mean, I know they played the Jaguars today, but they put a whooping on them 30-10. It was never close. They just beat the Rams 31-10. Like they had that stinker of a game against the Cardinals, but I don't know. They've had like their losses have been like bad losses.
Yep.
But I don't know. I feel like eventually at some point like Trey Lance has to take over. And it's so interesting that he hasn't yet.
You think it's gonna? I don't think it's gonna happen this year.
I think I don't know. I don't know if it could be like an Alex Smith, like Colin Kaepernick situation.
Yeah, I was going to Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah. Well, when did Kaepernick take over for Smith? Around what week was that?
It's a good
Felt
question.
like it was kind of late in that year.
It definitely was late-ish.
I want to say it was like end of October or early November or something like that.
That was his sophomore season, right? Not his rookie year. Let's see. Because first NFL start, November 19th.
Yeah.
2 days ago. 2 days ago in terms of time of year now. It's pretty late.
Here in week 10 against the Rams, Kaepernick replaced Smith in the second half after he suffered a concussion.
Well, I'm certainly not hoping I'm not hoping that Jimmy G gets concussed, but
Trey Lance is a bit more exciting to watch.
Here's why the 49ers are so damn good is they got a guy like Deebo Samuel who is a weapon.
How many carries did he have today, Jimmy?
8! He led the team 8 for 79 yards.
Touchdown.
Yeah. He led the team in rushing yards despite only having 8
look at all the injuries this team has had in the backfield.
And
they've had so many running back injuries, and they don't miss a beat.
Right.
Like most got hurt the very first game against the Lions.
Yeah.
Jeff Wilson, they just got back. Elijah Mitchell, they lost to I think it was like a finger injury or something. Like even their Trey Sermon, he third or fourth round pick. Like he isn't doing that much, and like they're just getting guys and doing pretty well.
They're starting to get healthy though. Like getting Kittle back, I think is going to be really. I mean, that's going to be big for him.
Yep.
And Brandon Ayuk was on a milk carton at the beginning of the year, but now he's like now he's back. Like,
and
the thing that was disappointing to me is that at one point they signed Kerryon Johnson to the practice squad and nothing came of it. I so badly would have loved to see him in that offense, but have nice things.
I just love that. With Deebo Samuel, they're not like dressing it up either. They're not like, oh, let's get him in on some gadget plays in the run. They're just like, no, why don't you just go back there as a running back and we'll just hand you the ball.
We'll just do the running back plays with you.
Yeah, and it freaking works.
It's kind of funny. I mean, that's like what the Falcons do with Cordero Patterson.
Yeah. Except he's better. He's a lot better than Cordero Patterson.
Oh man, ESPN has updated some of their stats. So the QBRs are out for the Lions-Browns game. Tim Boyle,
they're awesome.
6.7. Baker Mayfield, 8.6.
Jesus Christ. We haven't seen good quarterback play in 21 days. Oh, I guess
what's an average QBR? I feel like an average
50,
QBR is maybe like
I think it is 50.
60, bro. Oh my god, that's awful.
Jesus. All right, we should get back into it. We've
yeah.
That was a long break. We'll probably do a shorter one after this, but thanks again for the donations and follows during that break. Let's get back into it. We're going to talk about some player performances. So let's get back into Lions, Brown, Mose here, even though we were having fun talking about literally anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And we are back here on the PODcast, recapping a Lions loss to the Browns, 13-10, another pretty ugly game. We were just talking about the coaching, but let's move over to the players here, talk about some player performances, and I want to start on the offense. Obviously, Tim Boyle was the main storyline going into this game. People were just eager to see what was going to happen with Jared Goff not in the game, Jared Goff being the sacrificial lamb of that first game, or the first 8, 9, 10 games, whatever. Tim Boyle comes in. Story doesn't look all that different, but let's dive a little bit deeper into what you guys thought of his overall performance, just in general in this game. I'll start with you, Ryan. What do you think of Tim Boyle's first career NFL start?
I think it confirmed when it had the opportunity. I think it confirmed a lot of the suspicions that we had about Tim Boyle in training camp. Is that the guy can throw the ball pretty hard, but it isn't always accurate. And it was inaccurate in a lot of ways today. I mean, there were balls that were skipped, or there were balls at receivers' feet. There were balls that were over receivers' heads. But at the same time, he didn't get a whole lot of help from his receivers. And I think the guy that I want to talk about already is like Josh Reynolds. Like, there was an opportunity where I think Josh Reynolds had a chance to go make a play and get a ball, and he didn't end up doing it. And it was more than that with Josh Reynolds. But to keep things confined to Tim Boyle, I think that it was a lot of what we suspected, even though I think all of us secretly wanted something more, right? All of us secretly wanted to be like, okay, like maybe we can get Tim Boyle again, and maybe we can get Tim Boyle one good game and that he can take into another game. Because I think the other thing that needs to be said is it seems like it's pretty likely that Tim Boyle is the guy going into Thanksgiving.
Yeah. And
according to Dan Campbell.
Well, yeah, Campbell said Campbell left it pretty open. Schefter said on Sunday morning, like it seems like a long shot or something, but yeah. It looks like we're at least going to get one more Tim Boyle day.
Yeah. Like, I think, like, in the post game or something, like, I thought Dan Campbell said something along the lines of, Jared Goff, like, would be our guy, like, if he's ready, but he said something like he's planning on leaning on Tim Boyle for Thursday.
Okay. Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, obviously I want to hear John's thoughts about Tim Boyle's performance.
It's tricky because honestly, I don't think the offense looked all that different with Tim Boyle. There's still a lot of short passing. I think coming into the game, you mentioned we were kind of hopeful because one of his strengths is his arm, and we were kind of hoping that maybe that will result in them throwing downfield more. But looking at the play-by-play, ESPN, they have literally one pass from Boyle that is listed as deep, and that was intercepted. So I'll give him a little bit of a break because I think on that play, Josh Reynolds didn't make a good play for it. It was kind of a gunslinger throw by Boyle, but it was catchable. Unfortunately, we can't really say that much about the rest of the game. It was just really lackluster, a bunch of short passing. Really, it didn't look all that much different from when Goff was in the game. And like looking at the passing yards, he finished with 77 yards. Like, I don't care how talented your arm might be. You're not an NFL quarterback if you're only getting 77 yards in a game.
The one thing I want to say is the TJ Hawkinson pass that he caught up the seam that I had mentioned earlier, that was probably his best pass. And my God, that's something that we just saw like routinely on a drive by Matthew Stafford.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
that's how starved we are for good quarterback plays.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to be too hard on Boyle. I don't think he didn't like you guys have been saying, like he didn't really get a chance to do too much in this day. Like the game plan was the game plan, which I mean, last week we were using the excuse that it was the rain and it was Goff's injury, but it's clear like this is just what they want to be right now and what the only thing they think they can be. And so didn't get a ton of opportunities. The 2 interceptions are tough on him. Like you guys said, Josh Reynolds probably didn't give his best effort on that one, though it also wasn't a particularly great throw either. Like there was room on the inside, he threw him outside, probably threw Reynolds off a little bit in terms of his balance, couldn't necessarily jump up and get it as much as he'd like to. The other interception is a miscommunication with DeAndre Swift, and we've seen that happen before, right? Jared Goff had that same issue before. And so tough to really completely blame him on that one, but obviously that first one especially super costly when the Lions are already in field goal position early in the game when they can put points on the board. Otherwise, like, I guess it's worth noting that didn't take a sack. You know, that's something that we've complained week in, week out with Jared Goff is anytime there's pressure, he poops his pants a little bit and does a little spin move and takes a huge negative play. I think part of that is also pretty good play from the offensive line, but you know, I don't think it was a horrible performance. I don't think it was a great performance. I think it was probably on par with what I was expecting, other than maybe like everyone else kind of crossing my fingers and thinking that he had maybe a bit of a gunslinger mentality to him that we didn't end up ever seeing.
for as bad as for as bad as the Fox broadcast was today, LeVar Arrington especially.
Yeah.
I thought he made one good point, and the one good point was bringing up the single read kind of offense that Tim Boyle was playing today, because there were even plays on those screens where LeVar Arrington was right. Like, you shouldn't make that throw to that receiver or that running back, because it's going to result in a negative play. The defender's right there. It's like,
right.
Not to have the wherewithal to throw the ball away or to do anything like
Sure.
that. Like, I feel like there were massive. I think this is another thing to consider with Boyle getting his first career NFL start. I think the training wheels were really on for Tim Boyle in this one. And that leads me to my question that I want to ask both of you guys. I'll start with you first, Jeremy. Do you think that David Blau deserves consideration to play on Thursday?
No.
No?
I know Lions fans, I've seen basically since Jared Goff injury happened, they want Blau. We want Blau. We want Blau. I don't see a point in it, if I'm being completely honest. Like, David Blau is never going to be more than a backup, and I don't mean that as an insult. Like, I think he knows that's his career trajectory. He's a clipboard holder. He's a guy that helps out in the quarterback room, and that's fine. Like, you can build out a pretty solid career doing stuff like that, but you're not developing him to be a starter. You're not developing him to necessarily even really be a backup. He's kind of that perfect third string guy, and so I think you still want to see what you got with Tim Boyle. Especially the thing you mentioned with the screen, like, that's just something that comes with experience. Like, this dude has not played in an NFL in a real football game in 4 years.
Somebody tweeted his 2020 highlight compilation, and it was all him taking knees. Every single play was him taking knees at the end of Packers games.
So, I mean, like, I don't think this was a bad enough performance for them to say, like, all right, we're done with you as our backup quarterback. Like, no, give him more of a shot to actually. I mean, I'd love it for them to actually, like, give him a game plan and have him utilize this wicked arm of his that he supposedly has, that Green Bay Packers beat writers seem to be in love with. Give him a real shot and see what happens. And maybe, I mean, listen, Thursday's game is indoors. We can't blame the rain next week. We can't blame the rain. We can't play the wind. Like, throw the ball downfield. Maybe you'll have a week's worth more of experience with Josh Reynolds, a little more chemistry with everybody. Because even Boyle mentioned, like, I didn't throw, like, this offseason, I never threw to Hawkinson. I never threw to Swift. Like, these are guys that I wasn't throwing to in training camp because I wasn't getting those reps. And so, like, he's still developing chemistry with all these guys. I don't know what everyone sees in David Blau that gets them so excited for football. I feel like maybe they forgot what happened 2 years ago when he had to start 5 games for this team. Give me Tim Boyle and let's just at least see what he's got, man.
Yeah. What about you, John?
I'm very much in the same boat. I've seen enough of David Blau. I mean, literally the first Lions game I ever attended in person was that Thanksgiving game where he made his start. And, you know, there was that great play to Kenny Golladay and then kind of not a lot good. And we don't have a Kenny Golladay. We don't have a guy who's even half as good as Kenny Golladay. All we have is people who are injured like Kenny Golladay. And at this point, like, I guess you can praise Blau's pocket presence. I think that was one thing I kind of noted about him. He was good at kind of escapability, but that's not really enough to win you games. Like, he doesn't have a very strong arm. I'd say he's probably weaker armed than Goff. And honestly, I think if Goff is healthy, I think you play him on Thanksgiving, but otherwise I think Boyle. I think, honestly, if it wasn't for Boyle getting hurt at the start of the year, I don't even know if Blau would have made the roster.
It's a valid point. He might be relegated to the practice squad the entire season if he made it there. But let's move on from Boyle to, who do you guys want to talk about? You want to talk about Swift, offensive line? You want to go into Josh Reynolds?
Can we talk Swift first?
Yeah.
Because I think if there's a player who deserves to be like a obvious, game, player of the game candidate, it's DeAndre Swift, right? I mean, just another incredible performance on the ground. And, there's a lot to be said for it, even with, his longest run being the 57-yard touchdown, the longest of his career. And doing, the old Jeremy math.
Yes.
If I take that long away and I divide his carries,
13.
that were, 13, still got a pretty good average, right? It's like up over 6.
He was
I dig it.
running very hard today. Like there was one play, I think it was about a 10-yard carry or so. And in the past, we've seen him like when he gets contacted, he kind of just falls over. But he was chugging along for a good few runs here. And I think
There
you
was
mentioned
there
about
was
it
that
with the
one play.
average.
There's that one play, John, where he like reversed the field and he was starting to run short on the field and he could sense it and he like invited contact. Like he like cut up and got like an extra couple yards. And that was one play that really stuck out to me to your point about like it's a guy who doesn't really like invite contact and he shies away from it and when it happens he goes down.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
think
he looked much better.
I think going back to the question that I asked in the first time, which guys on offense have shown some progression? I think Swift might be the only answer, and it's been a lot because I've been kind of critical of Swift over the first 8 games of the season because he was averaging what, like 3-4 a carry. Like he was not being like, there was a reason why Jamal Williams had started all those games and was running a lot, is because he was running a lot better. It was physical. He was decisive. Swift was none of those things. He was bouncing it outside. He was kind of flat-footed. He's starting to get it. And I'm starting to dig really what we're seeing out of all of these running backs, right? Like, we didn't get to see a lot of Igwebuike in this game, but, like, he showed a lot of promise last week. We saw what we saw out of Jamal last week. Like, starting to really feel what Deuce Staley is doing to that room. And it really does start with DeAndre Swift, who now back-to-back 100-yard games. And this game was, like, it was a way different way to get to 100 yards, right? Like last week, he had 33 carries. This week, he had it on 9. Like it only took him 9 to get 100. And I know there were some people critical of maybe not going to Swift earlier in this game, but like they kind of, they tried, but there were so many 3 and outs. Like you can't give him the ball 25 times when you're going 3 and out all the time.
I think the most impressive thing about the fact that the run game has been productive in recent weeks is that they're doing it without Frank Reich now.
Sure.
I would say, like, far and away, he's probably the best interior offensive lineman on the team, probably the best offensive lineman on the team, I would say. And, Evan Brown has been doing pretty well. He got a little bit hurt, but he wasn't out too long, I think. So give credit to him because, as we kind of mentioned in the past, Swift hasn't been really good running in between the tackles. But, when you got pretty big holes created by these offensive linemen, it definitely helps out.
Yeah, I think the other thing that was kind of a bummer about the running game was Jamal Williams' return.
Yeah.
7 carries for 11 yards. It didn't seem like he had maybe kind of like what he had been doing up to this point in the season, where like he was running well between the tackles. I don't know how much of that had to do with, Vitae going out and, Brown going out and how limited they were in their ability to do that. Because I think the thing that coincides with John's point about, how impressive it is that they're doing this without Ragnow, getting Decker back, like, is it a coincidence that Swift has like back-to-back crazy games like that with, 2 road graders on the outside where, Swift can really do a lot of his damage? I think that there's something to that.
I think there probably is. I'm still very frustrated by the running attack when it comes to short yardage situations. That is killing me because like we get all
Kabinda play kills me, man. It kills me. Like the lead back dive, like Dan Campbell, stop it. Like
that is very early 2000s football.
Right. But I mean it's an issue beyond that, right? Like the Lions, the field goal drive. They had a 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 3, and they run the ball on 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. They only pick up 1 yard, and then they face that 4th and 1-ish, 2-ish. I think it's officially 4th and 1, but it kind of looked like 4th and 2 to me. And they kick a field goal. Like that's a critical play on 3rd down that you don't convert, and it's a thing that good teams that can run the ball consistently convert easily. And you're not 100%, effective on those kind of plays, but the Lions seem to have been very bad on short yardage runs all year, really. It feels like.
Yeah, when they've needed to gain. Yeah. Like I'd be interested to see like what their numbers are like on 2nd and short when they run the ball.
Yeah.
Which I don't think happens too often. Is maybe why I can't think of it.
Yeah.
Too often.
When is this team picking up 8 yards on 1st down?
Right. Yeah. This team is not staying ahead of schedule on their drives.
But yeah, I don't know.
Well, I think what goes to your point though is, and this will be a good kind of transition as we move over to the defense in the next segment, but like you look at what like Nick Chubb did on that last drive.
Yeah.
Like when they
the Lions
needed
could
yards,
never do that.
No. I mean,
I was shocked too that Chubb
didn't go down in bounds on those 2 runs.
Right.
I was like,
He kept
why,
extending the
why
game.
I was like, why are the Browns keeping the Lions somewhat in this game? But like, this is the quintessential. If Jeremy could get this from a running back, like the game that Nick Chubb had today, 22 carries, 130 yards, and his long was 15. Jeremy would draft that player in the second round.
Nope, third.
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 Well,
How
that's
dare
one
you.
of the key aspects that's really helping out the Browns is that Chubb is basically your closer, right? And we
The
saw
Lions
this
don't
when the
have
Lions.
that, right?
Yeah, well, we saw this happen for many years when the Lions had Stafford and they couldn't hold on to a lead late because they couldn't run the ball.
Right.
And if you have a guy who can dependably pick up 4 yards on a carry or break off a big play like Chubb can, like it's going to tremendously help your offense. And at this point, the Lions, they're never in a position where they're going to have leads very often, and they're just not good enough to catch up. And it's just a recipe for disaster, especially when your strength is the run game, right?
Yeah. Chris Burke had a great tweet during the game where he was like, when are the Lions going to score their touchdown that makes it seem like they're in this game?
And like that happened like 5 minutes later.
And that's just what the Lions do, though, because to John's point, like they haven't shown that ability to like make a play when they need to make a play.
Yeah. Okay, so really quick, Josh Reynolds' debut, 0 catches on 3 targets. We talked about the interception where he probably could have given a better effort. He also gets a ball knocked loose early in the game on also not a great throw from Tim Boyle. He kind of has to jump up and get it. Any thoughts about him? Is it just bad quarterback play? Or is it just first game trying to get chemistry with guys? Are you concerned about the Lions not getting him involved, or the fact that maybe they threw? I mean, every downfield throw they went to was kind of to him, so that I guess maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. What do we think of Josh Reynolds?
This, I think, was it the stat was Amon-Ra St. Brown was the only receiver to catch a ball on the day.
Yep.
It's tough to say because one thing we mentioned with Josh Reynolds is that he has this supposed chemistry with Jared Goff, right? And obviously you don't have that. Tim Boyle doesn't really have a lot of chemistry with anybody because he had that hand injury, right?
Yep.
I think when it comes to the receivers, I obviously it was disappointing because the only receiver with a catch was Amon-Ra St. Brown, 4 catches, 18 yards. Reynolds, I would say, probably had a negative impact because he took an 11-yard catch from St. Brown off the board.
That's right.
I think it was a pass interference, right?
Yep.
Offensive pass interference.
Blocked a little too early on the play.
Yeah, and then he had his first one. I think it goes down as a drop, but it was also a decent play by the cornerback.
Yeah.
But either way, it's still play you would like to see him come up with.
For sure.
And then obviously there was that interception. Partly his fault, up for debate with that. And then I think he had a third target, but I really don't remember what that was. So it could just be an instance of trying to get people up to speed. There's a lot of moving pieces in the offense for due to all the injuries that are happening. So it's tough. It's something that definitely warrants a rewatch to see maybe struggling with separation or whatnot. Because it's also worth remembering the Titans weren't playing him, and you kind of are starting to see why they weren't, right? I mean, they brought him in as a pretty... How much money did he get in free agency? He got a decent amount, and essentially just relegated to backup duties.
Yeah. Hey, say what you will about Josh Reynolds. Drop pass, offensive pass interference. He made that tackle on the first Tim Boyle interception. So
got hustle there.
He's a Dan Campbell player. He's got a lot of heart, Jeremy, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Last thing I want to talk about before we take a break and then talk about the defense to close things out. The offensive line. And the reason I want to talk about this is because that has been one of Dan Campbell's excuses for not passing the ball is, well, if we wanted to pass it deep, we have to have the pass protection to do it. And in this game, you're going against 2 pretty good pass rushers in Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney. Well, guess what? Pass protection was, again, pretty damn good. 0 sacks.
0 sacks.
Jadeveon Clowney was basically invisible the entire game against Penei Sewell. And Taylor Decker gave up a pressure to Myles Garrett. But Dan Campbell... Here's the thing. We're talking about how this offense is not talented. But they are in the trenches. And they are at some of their skill... they have 2 or 3 skill position players. You should be able to build a passing game around that. You should. You can't blame this
who can throw the ball.
I guess that's true, but to me, it's just you got some of these pieces that you've been waiting to get back now. And so Taylor Decker, not in the traditional sense of the word, he is a weapon. Penei Sewell is a weapon. Utilize them. They're great players. And so you can't use the excuse that they're not getting the protection anymore. You got the protection. Take a shot. If it takes 10 seconds for a receiver to get open, you might get that with these tackles. Give it a shot. Let's see what happens.
Especially next year once everyone's healthy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they lost Vaitai to concussion. I mean, we'll see what happens with that. But you might be in doubt for the Thanksgiving game, right?
Sure.
So there's a lot of really good pieces to work with. And I think that was one thing that we kind of saw in the past with Matthew Stafford, is that a lot of times the offensive line wasn't giving them a lot of time to do any damage. But if you have a quarterback who can, step back and take some shots downfield, having an offensive line is basically icing on the cake, right? And the Lions don't have anything to take advantage of that. I mean, sure, they can run the ball every once in a while, but it's not really creating enough yards to do damage in the long term.
The one other Cleveland Browns player who got pressure was zombie Malik McDowell. What the hell? Like,
right.
I mean, the guy was essentially out of the league. And then I remember, like, during training camp, like with the Browns this year, like him, making a huge, impact, and, everybody kind of really taking notice. I didn't think that he was such a player for them. Like, he was in on a lot of plays. He got that really bad roughing the passer penalty, but he was causing some problems, especially in the run game, I think, too.
Sure. Yeah, I think he had.
I think one thing we have to note though about the offensive line is Jonah Jackson got penalized between quarters. I don't think I've seen that before.
Yeah, apparently, according
your
to
mom
Dan
has
Campbell,
seen it before.
Yeah,
that's 15 yards.
He said something about someone's mama and got a 15-yard
Jadeveon Clowney's mom.
It was Jadeveon Clowney's.
Here's the thing. I want to know what that was. I'm trying to think of an insult that would warrant that kind of penalty.
Do you think it was just
curious.
A yo mama joke? Just like, yo, Jadeveon
I
Clowney, when your mom sits around the house, she really sits around the house.
It's hard to tell with these taunting penalties, right? I mean, in the Chiefs game today, their running back got penalized for pointing at a defender as he was crossing the line.
Yeah, I saw the quote from Jonah Jackson. He said that they like made amends or something along those lines. Like after like a couple plays later, they talked and they like came to like a respective mutual
and come on,
understanding about it.
Can't
leave moms out of it.
Well, no, but like, my point is like this is going into the whole like taunting thing. Like the players are mature; they can take care of that sort of stuff themselves. They don't need mommy and daddy officials coming in and throwing 15-yard penalties because one hurt the other's feelings. Get that crap out of this game.
Well, these are offensive and defensive linemen. They're banging into each other all game long. They're going to take it out one way or another.
Dan Campbell did seem like he was kind of annoyed in his response when he was telling reporters about why Jonah Jackson got the penalty. But like the thing he did end his quote with was something along the lines of like, yeah, like both teams were doing a lot of talking.
There was. I thought,
there's a lot of jawing.
Will Harris was very close to getting a penalty in this game because he was doing a lot of chirping on that side of the line. And we saw Penei do a little more chirping in this game as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was after the Swift touchdown, right?
Yeah. Anyways, we're getting a little off topic here. Long story short, NFL, get rid of your taunting penalties, you pansies. Let's play some football.
Your mom's a pansy.
Your mom's a pansy. All right. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Lions defense, who did not put in a pansy-like effort this game in holding Cleveland scoreless in the second half. So we'll get to what worked, what didn't work, and why they were so successful when we come back on the PODcast.
I didn't actually realize that the Lions held the Browns scoreless in the second half.
They did.
Wow. That's impressive.
You thought the Lions were the only team that couldn't score in a half of football, but no.
Hey, if you tweet about it and mention Jerry Jacobs, he'll like a tweet.
True. So
I made sure that if I tweeted anything about Jerry Jacobs today, it was going to be positive because I was about to tweet on the on that very first drive where he got that little tug of the jersey. It was a good play, but he did get a little bit of a tug of the jersey. I was gonna like tweet like, "Oh, Jerry Jacobs gets away with a little tug," and I was like, "No." Nope,
if you're gonna do it, just say Jacobs.
Don't say Jerry.
If you're complimentary, use the full name.
Man.
Thank you for throwing that link in there, Justin. Appreciate that. While we were in that segment, a couple scores went final. The Chiefs beat the Cowboys 19-9. Not a great day for me and my Dak Prescott bet with you.
Well,
he's only
Kyler Murray's not playing,
but he's
so.
only losing ground. While this is when he needs to be great, gaining ground and
Yes.
building that MVP case. And instead, he throws 2 interceptions in this game. 5.0 yards per attempt, not good.
I feel like both the quarterbacks didn't play well in this game.
Well, yeah, Mahomes is, I don't know, 260 yards, 1 interception, no touchdowns. Just kind of a defensive battle, which is not what you'd think of.
What you would have expected?
Yeah.
No.
Speaking
the
of,
over, do you know what the over under for this game was 56.5?
Oh my God, they hit 28.
Yeah, Chris and I took the under. We were like, I don't believe in this being that high scoring of a game with how bad these offenses have looked recently.
Is Kellen Moore's job on the line? Kellen Moore was the coaching candidate of the year 3 weeks ago, and then uh-oh.
I mean, if he got fired, I'd want Detroit to hire him.
Sure, bring him back. All he needs is a chance.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be so great.
Meanwhile, Cincy walked all over the Raiders, who we thought they were, not very good. Whoops, what's happening? My phone's making noise.
But the Bengals are who I thought they were, which is
There's a nice bounce back game for them. Really more of a defensive effort than anything else. It looks like just 148 yards passing for Joe Burrow, although Joe Mixon had $123 and 2 touchdowns. So running game working for them. And then the other game, the Seahawks lose to the Arizona Cardinals and backup Colt McCoy. The Seahawks are now 3-7. Are they done?
I think Russell Wilson's done with them.
I'm getting a nightmare situation where the Lions signed Colt McCoy in the offseason to be their starter.
So here's the thing. We've talked a couple times about maybe that Seahawks game being one of the winnable games down the stretch because they might just be out of the playoffs by then. But here's their next 6 games are all kind of winnable at least. You got Washington on Monday Night Football next week. You got the 49ers on Sunday Night Football after that. You got the Texans after that. Then you got the Rams. Tough game, division game. On the road. Bears, Lions. They could go on a little bit of a run there. I don't know if it's going to matter, but they could go on a little bit of a run to maybe make the second half of this season interesting for them.
But the tough thing is I think there's 3 teams in their same division that's better than them.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Well, now the Cardinals are in really the prime position.
They're in driver's seat.
Really, maybe of the entire conference.
The whole NFC, yeah. I agree.
Because they managed to weather the storm without their starting quarterback. They pick up that San Francisco game was with
Colt McCoy
too. So they went 2-1.
Yeah,
that's pretty damn good. So yeah, that all and that I think that is good news for Lions fans because that means that the better the Cardinals do means the less likely the Rams are going to do to win the division, and if they don't win the division, that means they're going on the road in their first playoff game, and that's huge.
Yeah,
right. That's a big difference maker. And the last couple weeks, their first round opponent has been the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which I always like pointing out because Brady versus Stafford seems like a fun first round matchup for me.
Yeah.
I don't know though. I really want Stafford to get a playoff win.
I do too.
I mean, I want it as easy as possible. I don't want him having to face Tom Brady.
Maybe do it in year 3 with the Rams though. After those first round picks don't matter anymore.
I got a bold thing to say about Monday Night Football. I think that there's a legit shot that the Giants beat the Buccaneers.
Ooh, that is spicy. I mean, don't just throw that out there. I need why. Why?
I think we mentioned it on the gambling podcast, but if we didn't, it must have been off air sometime. But I think Antonio Brown is maybe the most important player in that offense.
Ooh, okay.
Right now, for what Tom Brady can do with the football, I think that Antonio Brown is just the quintessential, he can slide inside to the slot. He can kick outside and run certain routes. He's a souped up version of Julian Edelman.
He can slide into the doctor's office with a fake card, allegedly.
He can do it all. If you're going to believe that, wasn't it the team chef or something like that?
It was his personal chef, I think,
or his
that outed
personal
him.
chef,
Stirring up trouble.
John,
Okay.
Was that a cooking joke?
Yes, it was.
I just needed to confirm it. But yeah, no, I think that offense kind of goes as Antonio Brown goes, and their defense has been kind of lackluster lately.
It's pretty bonkers though, like you say, like how important AP is when you have like two of the better receivers in the
Mike
entire
Evans and
league,
Chris
and Mike
Godwin.
Evans. Like, can we borrow one of them? Can we borrow like half of them? That's still gonna be better than what we have.
Well, they can do one better, John. They could sign Chris Godwin this offseason.
Oh man. Well, how much was his contract?
You know,
Because he deserves a boatload of cash.
it's interesting that, and I get why it's like this, but I feel like it's still kind of interesting that like the Rams have been catching all this flack for like underwhelming as a super team this year. You know, they grab all these guys in free agent, they trade for guys and all that sort of. But like the Buccaneers are sitting here with a super team that they developed over the past 2 years, and they got the same record? Like they're both 6-3, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they returned like every single starter. I think that was the.
And I get
stat
like
they threw out.
the point is like, well, the Bucs just won the Super Bowl. They have Tom Brady. Like they get a pass because it worked for them, and they also have Tom Brady. Well, Matthew Stafford isn't quite yet as proven, and it hasn't worked out for the Rams yet. But
Well,
I
I'm
just
going
think
to
it's
say
kind of
the Bucks deserve all sorts of misery because they spent a second-round pick on Kyle Trask. I'm sorry, that's you deserve any sort of karmic retribution coming your way for that.
That seems fair.
That is fair. Totally fair. I see our friend on the East Coast is back in the chat.
Who's that?
Let me tell you what he said and see if you can figure out who it is. We talking super teams? Look no further than your Baltimore Ravens. Do you know who it is?
That's why it was confusing because you said our friend.
Oh, that's right. I
East Coast.
misspoke there. I'm sorry. Well, you know,
I mean, super team, maybe super sick.
when you're broadcasting, sometimes you say the wrong words like friend when you mean asshole and things like that.
Say when you mean
Easy
Ravens.
mistake, Mike.
His hair is slicked back. Yeah, exactly. By the way,
yeah, slick back real nice.
real nice. LJ, our good friend LJ, just donated $100. Asks a question, and also he gets to write a word on my face as well. He says, "Would you rather have Colt McCoy at $5 million for 1 year or Goff, Blau/Boyle on their current contracts? Note you can cut Goff post June 1 and push $10 million of his cap hit to 2023."
So if we go with Colt McCoy, are we assuming that like Goff's numbers are magically off the board? Because I think because otherwise, like at this point, you've spent the money on Goff. You might as well stick with him. Who cares if you invest more in anyone else? I would go with McCoy if you pretend Goff doesn't exist and his numbers aren't on the books. If Goff's numbers are still on the books, then you might as well stick with him. I don't think the line is going to be that competitive next year anyway.
So we talked about this last week, and I'm curious your thoughts on it, John. Like, do you think there's a risk of losing the locker room in terms of your team vision if this team continues to trot out Jared Goff and he continues to underperform?
It's tough to say because I thought that the Lions might have considered benching Jared Goff at some point, not because Tim Boyle is going to do better, but because Dan Campbell strikes me as the type of guy to really value people earning their spot. We saw it with Brashad Perriman. He didn't even make the team. Jamie Collins released early on. And I don't think Goff has played well enough to really justify saying he's earned the starting role. But on the other hand, it's you have to acknowledge the outside factors, receivers, whatnot. And then two, how much have the other quarterbacks stepped up in his place? And I know we don't know exactly what's happening during practice, but I don't think either Blau or Boyle have been lighting up practices. Right. So I think if the Lions had a better option behind Goff, I think he probably would have started by now. But with what they have, I think probably you stick with him the rest of the way.
Well, I think maybe part of the question here is what do you do in the offseason? Do you get someone to push Jared Goff especially if you're not planning to go at one of these quarterbacks, right? Like what if the Lions decide let's get our favorite pass rusher first overall, whether it's Thibodeau or Hutchinson or whoever, and then with their second first round pick, maybe they get a wide receiver, and they essentially say, listen, we don't like any of these quarterbacks. We don't think any of these quarterbacks are our guy. What do you do in free agency? Do you go after a guy like Colt McCoy and be like, or do you re-sign Tim Boyle? Like, do you want someone to push him even though it's not necessarily going to be your quarterback of the future?
All right, let me look real quick at some of the upcoming free agents next year, because Colt McCoy, he's like 35 or something. I'm not really a fan of that. Yeah, he's 35 right now. I would pass on that. Like, I would be more inclined, like, maybe if you got like a young gun, like, who knows, like if someone like Dwayne Haskins, for example, got let go by the Steelers, I would be in favor of that. I want like a backup who has like a decent amount of potential. Like I think Tim Boyle kind of falls into that vein, but sorry, what did you say?
Teddy Bridgewater?
I think Teddy might be a bit too expensive, to be honest.
Maybe.
I mean, how much cap? I don't think the Lions are going to be too great when it comes to cap next year.
It depends. I mean, it's what they do with guys like Vitae and Flowers. They could create some money there.
Okay, I have a question.
But you also have to re-sign Tracy Walker.
How would you feel about the Lions signing Trubisky? What emotions would that make you feel?
Bears fans would be laughing quite a bit at us, which I don't like.
Which would be funny because they're basically laughing at themselves because they were the guys who spent a first pick on him.
Right, but it's one thing to make the mistake when you don't know. But when you sign him when you do know, that seems almost as embarrassing, if not more embarrassing.
Depends how much they pay. So like I'm looking at some of the free agents here. Like I know Josh Rosen's kind of shit the bed, and I wouldn't be against having him as a backup. PJ Walker, sure. Let me see. I mentioned Haskins. It's not a great list. Like there's some guys like Jameis Winston, Jacoby Brissett, Tyrod Taylor who could, compete, but I don't know if that's what I want. I don't want a quarterback who will like instantly compete with Goff for the starting role. I want a guy who can develop potentially into that starting guy. Like for me, if you sign someone like Jameis Winston or something, I don't know how much success that's going to be long term.
Right. Well, and that's kind of.
I don't think Jared Goff would start over Jameis Winston.
And that's to me like the philosophical question of this. Like, do you sign a backup good enough to push Jared Goff just for next year? I'm not talking about necessarily a developmental guy because I think that's still a guy you have to grab in the draft. Do you if you decide you're not going to get that guy, that developmental guy in the draft next year, do you just throw $4, $5, $6 million at a guy hoping he can push Jared Goff so that you can at least keep your head above water when Jared Goff struggles again?
I guess this question is actually, are you comfortable with Jared Goff potentially being a backup for $30 million next year?
That's also something to think about.
I mean, at that point, you have to consider cutting him too, right?
Well, I don't know. Why? Like
you don't really save any money.
How much? I thought you saved like about $5. I thought you saved about $5 million. Let's have a look.
I don't think it was anything. But while you look that up, I do have to note that Big Aries donated $80, and he wants to utilize that mute on Kyle Barber, which I will do. Boom.
Okay, so here's the value. So if it's a pre June 1st release, you save just under $1 million. But if it's a post June 1st release, your 2022 cap savings is about $10 million. Right. You have a dead cap of $20.5 million in 2022, and your dead cap is $10 million in 2023. Right.
So yeah, to be clear, you're only saving $1 million if you cut Jared Goff, and depending on the designation, you're either taking just $1 million in savings this year, and then it's off the books in 2023, or you're getting $10 million in savings this year, and you're pushing $10 million of that back into 2023.
That dead money.
Well, and it's also worth looking at. It's mentioning you could also trade him, and that would save a lot. But I don't know who's buying on that. Maybe Houston. Yeah, Houston, because they're kind of not smart. So If Brad Holmes is able to trade Jared Goff to the Texans, even for a pack of gum, that is an incredible move.
Well, couldn't it be something along the lines of the Brock Osweiler trade?
Yeah, I was gonna say. Well, that was where the Lions gave up something. And would you want to give up a pick just to get that salary off the books? I don't know if I think I would probably value the pick more because that might cost you a second, a third. I don't know if I'd be willing to do that.
No, I mean, no.
Yeah.
To me,
a second round pick is far too high. That's pick 33.
Right. I mean, you're building.
That's why I would be way more comfortable with Jared Goff being the
Right.
$30 million backup.
Right.
Like,
This is a long-term rebuild. Take your lumps now. Take your lumps early, and don't sell future pieces for that.
Right. And I guess my last question is to okay, maybe it's not signing a guy, but would you trade anything of value to get a guy for a reclamation project? Would you be interested in a Tua? If he's on the market?
I still like Tua. I feel like he's been dealt a pretty bad hand in Miami, and it seems like they're very quick to throw him under the bus, but
depending on what it is, if it's a second round pick, it's okay, I'm trading a second round pick for one of those guys that John kind of just mentioned. Is it a guy who has potential that could develop into a starter? I
think
that
the problem with if you trade for Tua, I think you need to make sure he starts a lot of games, because I think if you have Tua as your backup and Goff starts most of the games the next season, then come draft time, you still have a question is Tua your guy? I think before that next draft hits, you need to know if Tua is going to be your future or not. So I think if you end up trading for Tua, I think Goff is either riding the pine or playing somewhere else, because you need to see what you have. I think if you have Goff in the starting role, I think it leaves kind of too much up in the air about what the future of the quarterback position is going to be.
Jared Goff has played his way out of being a starter in the NFL this year.
Mm-hmm.
That's my take.
By the way, Tua 27 of 33 for 273 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick today. In a winning effort. All he does is win, dude. Just a winning quarterback.
Against the Jets. Wow, Joe Flacco is actually not horrible, at least based on the stats.
I'm curious as to how our guy Jared Davis is doing. Did he play in this game?
Stop doing this, Jeremy. Every time you look, it's not good.
He didn't record a defensive stat. I wonder if he didn't play today because he's been doing so bad. His PFF grade is lower than 30 right now.
I feel so bad for him.
I kind of feel bad for him too.
He's such a nice guy. Looks like he played 9 snaps today.
Jared Davis is not fully healthy yet, which is why he barely played, says Robert Saleh. Anyways, forward marker, what happened? What do you want, LJ? What do you want? I didn't see what you said. What did you want on it? Did you say?
Let's see.
I missed it. Look up. Oh, you make me do work. Oh, Jesus. Blow me, huh? That's what you want on my forehead?
I thought those jokes had run their course. It's been a while now. I thought we got those out of the system the first few weeks when you started.
I want to run and try to this. I'm going to try to do this one in the mirror. Can you guys carry the show for a minute or two?
Yeah, sure.
Maybe.
All right. We'll try.
All right.
Try.
I kind of want to. Okay. Go ahead.
Real quick, there was a Schefter tweet. I don't know if you saw it, John, but it said, with wins today from the Texans, Colts, and Vikings, there now have been 11 wins since week 9 from teams with a below 500 winning percentage against division leaders, the most such wins to occur since 1970. It seems like there has been a lot of upsets recently.
Yeah. So I mentioned this to Jeremy before in the Zoom call before you joined and before we started up the stream. I feel like this season has been pretty ugly. There have been a lot of really bad performances or teams just shaking the bed. It feels like there isn't that really dominant team this year.
Right when you think a team is dominant, then a performance like the Tennessee Titans happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like right when you think the Rams are the team, they have that game against the Titans and then they follow it up against the 49ers. Like,
Yeah.
right when you think a team is good, they get mollywopped by some like below 500 team.
I'm trying to read Jeremy's forehead here.
Well, I'm gonna try to flip it so that it works.
That clearly is the best job you've ever done.
Well, yeah, because how do I do this?
I wonder what David Blau would have to say if he saw you with that on
Transform.
your face.
Oh, here we go. Flip, vertical. Nope.
No.
Can I undo that? There we go.
I think that might have been the most vertical aspect we saw today.
There you go.
I don't like this.
What?
It feels different now.
Just because like this is the only thing that really signifies that it's flipped.
Well, no, and your your shoulders too.
But now I'm actually, this is where my, like, it's actually accurately representing which direction I'm looking towards.
It's gonna take a while.
For a second on the stream, it looked like you were trying to high five me. It was like, let me see, where's my hand? I'm trying to.
See, this is gonna be much. I should keep it like this because this is gonna make it much easier for me to operate. Because like, when I point left, it's actually left. When I point right, it's actually right.
Work smarter, not harder, folks.
Yes, exactly.
Last segment.
Did I interrupt anything important?
Pete on the way. No,
Do you really?
No.
We were talking about. John was mentioning how there was just a lot of like ugly football this year.
Yeah.
And because there was a tweet that Schefter put out about like since week 9 there have been 11 teams that have below 500 records that beat division leaders. And that was the most since like 1970. But just like this larger point of like every time you think a team is legit, they like get kicked in the nuts by some like bad football team.
But here's the fucking frustrating thing about it. In a season filled with parity, the Lions are still winless! The Lions are still winless! How?
I mean, think about it on the bright side. Maybe this is good. Maybe the blowouts could have been worse. Like,
sure, great.
Jeremy, you asked how that could be. You know the answer to that question. Very carefully.
Oh yeah.
Also, a bit of a side note, but like that tweet that he put out is like super cherry picked. Like with wins today, there have been 11 wins since week 9 from teams below 500. The most wins to occur during weeks 9 to 11 in a single season since 1970. It's like, okay, and
this very specific 3-week stretch.
How many of those guys were called Smith? Like, dude, very cherry picked.
Did you see the graphic that he tweeted out though? It was like notable Thanksgiving games, and it listed all 3 games. I'm like, those aren't the notable ones; those are the games. And also, if it's notable, then why is Lions Bears listed?
Ugly.
If Justin Fields doesn't play, Jeremy, I don't think we have PTO, but I'm using it.
Can we talk about how bad some of the Thanksgiving games have been? Like, this one's probably going to be bad. Last year, they got stomped by the Texans. And then the year before was, like, Blau's first game. And then, what was 2018? Let's see.
Do you know what I'm going to do right now in stream?
Go for it.
If the Lions don't get their first win on Thanksgiving, I'll donate a large sum of cash to the charity.
It's very mysterious.
How about you donate the
I'll donate $250.
Ooh.
I was gonna say for every yard that Andy Dalton throws, you donate that much. Do you think that would be over or under?
I have a feeling they're gonna win this game unless Justin Fields plays. If Justin Fields plays, the Lions are toast.
You know what? I'll donate however many passing yards the Lions get. And I know that's not nearly as much of a risk as it is for Ryan.
That's going to be nothing.
No, wait, hold on. Can I do that too? Because I think that's way more fun.
It's hilarious.
For every because that'll
Maybe-
so that's guaranteed to happen though. So like there's a guaranteed donation in that. If the Lions don't
Right.
win, then I wouldn't donate anything. So yes, I will donate. I almost said I'll take rushing yards if you take passing yards, which might not be a good thing.
Yeah,
but,
I don't know. Which
all
one's
right,
the
fuck
bigger
it, I'll
thing.
do it. Here it is. For however many rushing yards the Lions get on Thanksgiving, I will donate that to our charity
All right.
Rain right now.
And I'll do passing yards, and not net passing yards. You can take the sacks out of it. Just total passing yards.
And sacks count as negative rushing yards.
No, this isn't college. This is not college. You can't do that. I
I'm
feel
trying
like
to think how is the Bears defense analytically? I haven't paid too much attention to them.
I mean, probably
they were
pretty good.
They were pretty good, but now Khalil Mack is out.
Khalil Mack's up for the rest of the season. I don't know. Tyler Hunter went 26 of 39 for 219 yards.
Yeah, he balled out.
I don't know. If only there was someone in our chat that could tell us firsthand how the Bears' pass defense looked today. Unfortunately,
Who knows?
they got timed out.
Guess we'll never know.
Guess we'll never know. I think we should get this as a movement. For the next 4 days, we should try to get as many people in on donating the amount of passing yards the Lions get to the charity. Who else is in, chat? You know, if it was today, it was $77. It's nothing, or whatever it was. Was it 77? Is that right?
Yeah, 77.
If Tim Boyle explodes for 300 yards, I'm going to.
Oh, we got a couple people in chat saying they're in. And you can set a cap. If I don't want you to donate more than your means. So if 150 is your total, cap it at 150.
Donate
even if it's 50
amount of yards. Yeah.
we got 4 people saying they're in, which I hope you're all being truthful, but that would be awesome.
What if it's disgusting and it's 26?
Oh man.
Just hey,
I would
that's
almost
still
feel
$100
bad donating
total.
that.
I'd be so embarrassed.
We should, and we need to. I'm gonna tweet
wait.
about it, and I'm gonna at the Lions, and it's gonna. I'm using it as blackmail for them. Hey, if you want to help charity, throw the ball, damn it.
Okay, but we need to address the elephant in the room. What if the Lions get negative passing yards?
Well, then I'm gonna knock on Rain's door and be like,
email Rain.
Rain, sorry.
I'm sorry. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility. I think Igwebuike finished with negative yards.
Tim Boyle has cost you $36.
I mean, honestly, if that happened, you should probably demand it because, geez, that would be awful. Has a player ever finished with negative passing yards like a starting quarterback?
You know what?
Oh, that's a stat.
Here's the thing, and I might regret saying this. Hopefully, I don't. If the Lions finish with negative passing yards, I'll donate $500.
Yeah, the odds of that happening.
It's just so low, right? Yeah. And again, not net passing yards. If they get sacked 10 times and finish with negative net yards, that doesn't count.
The Pistons got into a scrum where LeBron got ejected from the game, and so did Isaiah Stewart from the Pistons, because the Pistons are actually winning right now in the fourth quarter.
Hey, I made a face, and it wasn't because of what you said. It was because Alex Nelson donated $200 to Rain. No reward necessary. He says, thanks for the fundraiser. Alex, thank you so much. That's incredibly, incredibly generous of you. Thank you so much.
Probably $100 more than Jeremy will give next week.
Probably. And as Wisconsin Lions fans notes in the chat, we are now just $421.62 away from both a spin of the Wheel of Pain and the Ned Flanders cosplay stream, which means that is also the big benchmark there, being $10,000 donated from you guys through about 23 weeks, which is incredibly impressive.
Days. Yeah.
We've already surpassed any charity drive that we've had ever. I think our previous high was about 7,900, 8,000 ish total, and we are knocking on the door of 10,000, which is awesome. Oh, look who's back!
I
Sorry.
I was going to say, I got that stat for you. There have been people who have finished a game with negative passing yards. 2009, Kerry Collins started the game for the Tennessee Titans. He was 2 for 12 for -7 yards and an interception. That's impressive.
That's not good.
Although the stat head that I'm using, I've had it, so it's supposed to filter for only quarterbacks. And the most recent result that it gives me is Philip Lindsay, the running back. So something's broken.
Oh, last segment.
Let's do it.
All right.
Okay. And we're back finishing out the podcast, recapping Lions Browns. Before we get into it, I just want to mention, if you haven't already, please follow us on all of the podcast platforms to listen to and give us a review. It's been a while since we've gotten any new reviews. We always like to see feedback. 5 stars is always appreciated, but obviously be honest with yourself too. So just wanted to throw that at the top. Let's get into the Lions defense as promised. They've put up 2 okay performances back to back. You look at least points scored, 16 last week, 16 this week. 13 this week. So I guess my question to you is, how much of this do you believe? How much do you think the Lions are punching above their weight class here? How much of it is just bad quarterback play on the other side of the ball? Because Mason Rudolph obviously wasn't very good. I thought Baker Mayfield was horrible in this game, but it goes both ways, right? There's forcing mistakes too. So I'm just kind of curious. We'll talk overall thoughts on the defense, and then maybe we'll get into some individual performances. Let's go to you first, John. What do you think of the Lions defense in this game?
It's kind of been a reoccurring theme with the Lions is that they suffer quite a few injuries, but they kind of still keep trucking by. It's at a point where coming into the season, a lot of people didn't really expect the defense to do that much just because they're really, really devoid of talent. But they have strung together some decent performances, and it's really out of guys that no one expected. Like Jerry Jacobs in particular, I thought had a pretty decent game. I think he might have had a penalty or two, but otherwise, like he had a really nice tackle in the run game. He had a great pass breakup to, I think, force the Browns to punt. So it's those kind of guys that when I talked about, I really want to be encouraged by like the little things. I'm not necessarily caring about the overall outcome. I think those are things that I like to see because Jerry Jacobs went from a guy who's basically bottom of the roster, special teamer to, maybe next year he could be in line to get some starting snaps. I think those are the things that really, really encourage me.
Yeah, I think for me, the quarterback play is something that is so like it's limited my ability to properly judge this defense because the guys that are making plays, like Jeremy said, even though he's a noted Amani Oruwariye hater, that's a play that's like, come on, what a horrible throw over the head of Jarvis Landry that just fell right into Oruwariye's lap. The play where Alex Anzalone made a play and tipped the ball to AJ Parker.
Right.
There was a lot of bad quarterback play in this game that resulted in turnovers. Unlike the game against the Steelers, I think that what I am encouraged by is I think the Lions got some pressure in like back-to-back weeks. Like they've gotten like some semblance of a push up front on defense that it needs more, obviously.
Yeah.
Like it's nothing to write home about, but like I think it's something where they have at least like they've showed a little bit of that like ability to kind of maybe it's just an overestimation of Derek Barnes, but like their sideline to sideline defense at times like looks pretty good. Like it can look good at times, but then there's also times where like Charles Harris gets completely sucked in on a play.
Yeah.
So I mean, like I don't know, they did get to Baker Mayfield once today.
Well-timed blitz.
Yeah, a well-timed blitz, and that was something that I did like, and that's something I think passing it over to you, Jeremy, is, I mean, how much of this belongs praise to the coaching staff?
It's tough because I do think it's been a really bad quarterback play, and I feel like good quarterbacks probably could have blown both of these games open. If I'm being completely honest, I don't think. I don't think the Lions are getting enough pressure on just like regular situations. I feel like they have to send some of these well-timed blitz. And I asked the coaching staff last week, like, what's the deal with the pass rush? Why haven't we seen it in the past couple weeks? And their excuses were, and I don't really buy it all that much, is, we haven't gotten into enough situations where we can send the blitz or we can pass rush. The mantra they seem to be using with that room is you have to earn the right to pass rush. And to do that, you need to stop the run. And to be quite frank, the Lions haven't done a great job stopping the run the past 2 weeks. Najee Harris ran for over 100 yards last week, and the Browns almost had 200 yards rushing against them in this game. So I still not liking what I'm seeing from the interior defensive line. Not a lot of disruption happening there. Here and there it's happening, and the Lions did get into some third and longs, and then they did send pressure, and that seemed to work. My problem is they just don't seem to be getting it on normal downs. You don't see a guy like, I haven't seen a ton of Julian Okwara hasn't really had a lot of opportunities to pass rush or beat guys. I thought Austin Bryan had a very up and down game sometimes. I did see him create one pressure kind of on his own, but I also saw him get sucked in a couple times, like you were saying. So defensive front not doing enough. Linebacking is interesting with me because, like, I thought Alex Anzalone was pretty bad again this game.
It was like up and down.
Yeah, a lot of missed tackles in the run game, and then he comes back. I think they've actually been kind of okay in coverage. Like, that's the one thing. Like,
broke up that early throw to Austin Hooper.
Yeah, and then tips the interception. Yeah. And it's tricky because I think they're part of the reason why other teams are so successful on the ground. Like, they're not getting help from their defensive front, but they're just not playing that well in terms of, like, I saw Alex Anzalone get tossed a couple times in this game.
But
absolutely
the time he got ran over by Chubb.
Yeah, that too, man.
Yeah.
And then the secondary, like, again, mixed bag because, like, they are making these great plays. They're getting their hands on some balls, but, like, there are also times when there's just wide open receivers that the quarterbacks are missing. And sometimes they're not even missing. Like, Oruwari, another up and down guy where, like, gets 2 penalties on one drive, and you can argue whether they were good penalties or bad penalties, but I'm not really.
We'll never know.
We'll never know because there's not a good angle on it. But he needs to be better. I think Tracy Walker needs to be a little bit better. He got beat on a deep play in this game. I still think he's laying the wood on a lot of guys, and he broke up a screen pass. He's still their best defender. Like, and the problem is I don't think it's even close. I think he's the only one making plays out there on a consistent basis, and even he's given up some plays here and there now. So I don't know. If I had to put a final opinion on the Lions defense right now, I think it's fool's gold. I don't think it's very good right now. I don't.
I was gonna say it's kind of similar in the sense of like grading Tim Boyle's first start, right? It seems like you give it an incomplete grade because you feel like you really didn't get to see it tested.
Right.
Like you didn't see Tim Boyle go down the field. Same thing with like the Lions defense the past 2 weeks. They faced Mason Rudolph and a really bad Baker Mayfield.
Right. And
so it's hard to grade.
I don't know. There's something gross about saying that the Lions defense was bad again today because one, they held the Browns scoreless. 2, they forced 2 more turnovers.
In the second half.
Yeah, in the second half. That's what I meant. They forced a couple more turnovers, which I think they had a couple last week too, and like they're inarguably keeping the Lions in the game. Like that's no question. But I just feel like if we're talking about like long-term prospects of like whether they're improving, whether they can play well against better opponents, I'm not seeing that much progress. I don't feel like they're at a good level yet. So I don't know. I'm waiting and see how it all plays out. I'm not feeling very optimistic about where they're at. But at the same time, like, there's no talent.
I think it was one of their better performances of the year, which probably isn't saying that much.
Right.
Like, I think in the end, they did what was necessary. They held the Browns to 13 points, and you just need your offense to do more. And I feel that's kind of something we saw a lot in recent weeks where the defense was kind of bending, not breaking, and then the offense just couldn't do anything to actually capitalize on that. And then eventually the defense just gets gassed and then the big plays break out, right?
Right.
I think that's kind of what happened with the Bengals game, right? Where there were some decent drives happening, but all of a sudden, just a few plays go against them and then wheels fall off and the offense can't do anything to catch up. And then it's just downhill spiral from there.
Well, I think the thing that felt like a step back this game, though, was the Lions' run defense. And I mean, Nick Chubb and Dearness Johnson to an extent when they used him in very limited role. I mean, 5 carries for 26 yards. But I mean, 36 carries total for 184 with a long of only being 16. Like, I thought that they were able to like chunk yards and stay on schedule. And the only time that the Browns fell into a pit or fell into a problem was when a penalty would bite them in the ass.
Right.
And then the Browns were forced to throw the ball, and Baker just wasn't good today.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's something that we've kind of talked about all throughout the season, especially like on all of our preview podcasts, Jeremy. Like on First Bite, we're always talking to, you know, somebody from the opposite team about like, you know, the Lions run game in terms of, or, you know, stopping the run game and run defense. Like it's so like inconsistent. Like there's, you know, it's so emblematic of like those players that we were talking about. You know, it's a lot of up and down performances, or they take one step forward and then it's 2 steps back.
Right.
I think a perfect example was that there was a play where I think Ali McNeil got into the backfield and the running back just bounced outside and there was no one there for contain.
Yep.
And I think we harped a lot about how bad the Matt Patricia defenses were, but I feel like one consistent they had is that they were pretty good at setting the edge. And I feel like that has been lacking this year. And I think obviously losing Romeo Okwara hurts. You know, maybe you have a different scheme, maybe not as incentivized to do that. But when you're not able to stop guys in the middle, you want to at least be able to stop them from bouncing outside. And Nick Chubb did a lot of damage just by bouncing around tackles.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, we always have to bring it back to perspective. Like they're missing so many guys on this defense. Yep. In Romeo Okwara, they were missing Trey Flowers in the game, who's a guy it's great setting at the edge. They trade away, or they tried to trade away Jamie Collins. They lose Jamie Collins, and we all know all the injuries happening in the secondary. So all that, you know, it's important to continue to bring up just because like they are still performing better than they should be. Like that's really the ultimate point we should be making. And to go back to Ryan's original point, like that is a feather in the defense's cap where the offense I feel like isn't performing enough with the pieces that they have. The defense is performing just about as well as you could expect with the pieces they have, even though I think the Browns had a lot of self-inflicted wounds in this game.
I thought Levi Onwuzurike was all right. He had a tip pass. He had that blocked
extra point. That's,
yeah. You know, I always like to see the big guys get their mitts up, so that's encouraging.
For sure.
I was going to say, like, if you were to tell me that, you know, coming out of that Eagles bye week that the Lions hold the Steelers to 16 points and the Browns to 13 points, would they have a chance at winning either of those games? Yeah. Like I would think that they probably won at least one of them.
Yeah. They certainly had a chance to win both.
Yeah.
Any other individual performances stick out from you guys? I feel like Will Harris has been quiet, and that's kind of good, right? Like we haven't had a big like Will Harris sucks play in a while.
I think he was guilty on
the bar for this defense.
I think he was guilty on one of the touchdown plays. I can't remember. I think it was either.
Oh, I think it was the Chubb pass. I think the Chubb catch.
I think so. Yeah. He got bit on that. I'm still concerned about Harris going forward. Like especially if the Lions do lose Tracy Walker in free agency, I have zero confidence in Will Harris back there. Like. I think he's still a guy you probably keep around at the very least as a backup guy or a third safety, but as a starter, I really don't like him out there.
That's fair. All right, I think we'll wrap things up there. Before we go, I do want to say we are still raising money for RAIN, which is one of the biggest anti-sexual abuse programs in America. During the break, we have a pledge for Thanksgiving, and I urge you to join us. I have pledged I will donate $1 for every passing yard that the Lions get on Thanksgiving. And I know that might not seem a lot after back-to-back performances by Jared Goff and Tim Boyle, which resulted in a collective maybe 200 yards or so. But Ryan has also joined in, and he's doing the opposite, which is every rushing yard that the Lions get against the Chicago Bears, he will donate $1. I urge you to either join Team Jeremy or Team Ryan to donate to our RAIN charity drive for Movember. If you're wondering how to donate, you can visit prideofdetroit.com, look for Ryan Santosto's mustache on the page, or join us live on Twitch, twitch.tv/prideofdetroit. We are live after the game on every Sunday night. We'll be live on Tuesday this week, previewing Lions Bears. We'll also be live on Wednesday night to do a Lions Bears Madden sim. So those are opportunities for you to donate. There are also a bunch of prizes you can win and things that we'll do if you donate a certain amount. All that information is at prideofdetroit.com. But for Ryan, for John, thank you all for joining us. We'll be back very, very soon previewing Lions Bears on that short week. But until then, it's chaos. Be kind.